Hello everyone and welcome back to another full English grammar in use video with me. In the last video we talked about modals of obligation. If you haven't watched the video, I'll put the link for you. In this video we're going to be looking at must, which is a modal verb, have to, have got to, mustn't and don't have to. And we're going to compare them so you can see the similarities and differences. So let's get started. Must and have to are somehow similar, and often there is not much difference in the meaning. They are both used to talk about necessity, something that is necessary to do or to be done. They are both strong obligations. But we said we use must in these situations. We've already talked about them in the last video, but just as a reminder, I'm going to tell you again. Strong obligation coming from the speaker. So it's about the speaker's opinion, what the speaker thinks is important to do. Strong personal advice, official rules of formal and written English, and recommendations. For example, I must go, it's late. That's based on my opinion. I think it's late, so I must go. The obligation is coming from me. You must see a doctor at once. That's a strong personal advice. Seatbelts must be worn. That's an official rule. We can also use have to talk about obligations, strong obligations that come from the speaker, but mostly is about a responsibility, something that is from the outside. It's not about my opinion or what I think. So it is a necessity, it's an obligation, but it comes from the outside. So have to is about responsibilities because somebody else makes you do it. Not that you want to, but something or someone from the outside makes you do it. For example, I don't have much time. I have to study. So it's my responsibility to study. I have to study. The obligation comes from outside. It comes from school or my teacher, for example. I have to work. It's my responsibility to work. Or she has to get up early in the morning. Her work makes her get up early in the morning. Not that she wants to, but she has to because of her work. Another example, Matt has to travel a lot for his work. Again, it's because of Matt's work that he has to travel a lot. His work makes him travel a lot. Now let's compare these two. Must is used when the obligation is coming from the speaker. So it's mostly about the speaker's opinion. But have to is about responsibilities. Something that someone or something else makes you do it. It's from the outside. The obligation comes from the outside. It's not necessarily about your opinion. So it's about things we don't necessarily want to do, but there is some sort of need to be done. But we also use must to talk about obligations coming from the outside, but that outside is about official rules. Obligations coming from the authority, like a school, police, airport, library. So we can use must to talk about obligations that come from the outside, but that outside is the authority, like school, library, hospital, official rules. In this case, must is mostly used in formal and written English, like signs, notices, printed information, rules that are written somewhere. But have to is mostly used in spoken English. So if you want to use have to, if you want to talk about responsibility in formal English, we use forced to or obliged to. For example, many businesses are obliged to pay tax. A very important difference between these two is the structure. Must is a modal verb. Therefore, it's used with bare infinitive. For example, I must go. She must go. And it's the same for all the subjects. We do not add the third person singular s, we do not say musts, and we do not add ing, nothing. But for have to, we've got have plus infinitive, or have to plus main verb, or the base form of the verb. And the verb have changes for the third person singular. So we say I, you, we, they have to, but she, he, it has to go. But for must, we use must for all the subjects as it is, and the form doesn't change. We do not have any past forms for must. Must only exist in simple present and present perfect forms. We already know what simple present is. We'll be talking about must in present perfect form later. But we use have to in other tenses as well, past or the future. For the past, we have had to. When we want to talk about past obligations. For example, we met each other yesterday, but I had to leave early. We can also use it in the future. For example, I'm going to have to buy a new car. I'll have to tell your parents about that. So we can use have to in other tenses, past or the future, but we do not have any past or future forms for must. So for example, we do not say I must go. No, we say I must go. Or I'm going to must. No, I must. So this was about must and have to, the positive form. Now let's get to the negative forms. Their negative forms are must not, or the contracted form mustn't. And for have to, we add do not before have to. So it's do not have to, or the contracted form don't have to. So we say I mustn't sit here. You mustn't sit here. We mustn't sit here. They mustn't sit here. He mustn't sit here. She mustn't sit here. It mustn't sit here. They're all the same. Subject plus mustn't plus base form of the verb. But the don't have to, I don't have to come. You don't have to come. We don't have to come. They don't have to come. He doesn't have to come. She doesn't have to come. It doesn't have to come. We add that third person singular s for the third person subjects, he, she, and it. And we do not say he don't has to come or she don't has to go. We say doesn't have to. We add that s to do. Doesn't. So we said must and have to are somehow similar in the meaning, and they both mean something that is necessary to do because we think it's important, my opinion, or because it's my responsibility, someone or something else makes me do it. But is it the same for mustn't and don't have to as well? No, not at all. Their meanings are completely different. We use mustn't to talk about prohibition, something that is not allowed. We can't do that because it's prohibited. We do not have a choice, or because it's a bad idea. So we have to stay away from it. For example, they mustn't go to that building. So it's forbidden to go to that building. They have to stay away from it. They can't go in there because it's forbidden or because it's a bad idea to go in there. But we use don't have to talk about something that is not necessary to do. So there is no obligation at all. You have a choice. So you don't need to do it because there is no obligation, but it's fine if you do it. You can do it if you want to, but there won't be a problem if you don't. For example, you don't have to go if you don't want to. It means you have a choice. You can go if you want to, but you cannot go if you don't want to. She doesn't have to come. If she doesn't want to, I can go alone. Again, it means she has no obligation to do it. There is no obligation. She is totally free to choose. If she wants to come, she can. If she doesn't, that's okay. We can hang out tonight. I don't have to study. So I can study if I want to, but I don't have to. There is no obligation. I have a choice not to study tonight. We can hang out. He didn't have to work on Friday. It means there was no obligation for him to work on Friday. And you see, it's in the past, so again, we do not say he don't had to. He don't had to. We say he didn't have to. He didn't have to. We change that auxiliary verb do. And because it's the past form, we do not add any third person singular s for the past. In a nutshell, have to or has to are the same as must somehow, but don't have to, doesn't have to, didn't have to are not the same as mustn't. They are completely different. For the question form, I know that you already know that we've got yes or no questions, WH questions. But the thing here is that we usually do not use must as a question. So for example, we do not say, must we cook? Instead we say, do we have to cook? Do we have to cook? The same structure is for have to. So we only have one structure for must and have to in the question form. They're both the same. So we have do plus these subjects, I, you, they, we plus have to plus base form of the verb, and does plus these subjects, he, she, it plus have to plus base form of the verb. And we can also use did plus subject, all the subjects plus have to plus base form of the verb when we want to make a question about the past. For example, do you have to wear that? Yes, I do, or yes, we do. No, I don't. No, we don't. The question is with you, so we can use both of these subjects, I and we, to answer. Does she have to learn Spanish? Yes, she does. No, she doesn't. Did they have to wait that long? Yes, they did. No, they didn't. Or did he have to park here? Yes, he did. No, he didn't. As you see in the question form, only the first part of the sentence changes. Do, does, and did. And the rest of the sentence is the same. And for WH questions, we can add a WH question word at the beginning of the sentence or before the yes or no question. For example, what do I have to do to fix this? Why does he have to come with us? When did we have to do that? Have got to is the same as have to, and it's used in spoken English. And for the structure, just like have to, we have I, you, we, they plus have got to plus base form of the verb, and he, she, it plus has got to plus base form of the verb. And their negative forms are haven't got to and hasn't got to. For example, I've got to be at the meeting at 11. I've got to buy a new shirt. You've got to be more careful. And as you see, we usually use the contracted form, I've, which is the same as I have, or she's, which is the same as she has. But remember, we usually use have or has got to in the positive form in spoken English. We barely use the negative form haven't or hasn't got to, and we almost never use the past form had got to. There is no past form, so we don't say I'd got to pay for that. We can also contract got and to and make it sound like gotta, gotta. But other than got to, gotta or gotta can also mean have got to. For example, she's gotta tell me, she's gotta tell me, which is the same as She's or she has got to tell me. I gotta go. I gotta go, which is the same as I have got to go. Now let's practice. Fill the gaps with the best word you think. You touch that pot. It's dangerous. It's hot. We've got to use a negative verb, so it's either mustn't or don't have to. Can we use don't have to here? No. We use mustn't because we say it's forbidden. You mustn't touch that pot. If we say you don't have to touch that pot, it's hot and dangerous, that doesn't make sense because it's forbidden. You're not allowed to touch that pot because it's very dangerous. We go to the party if you don't want to. We can stay home. Correct. We don't have to go to the party because we have a choice, so it's not an obligation to go to the party. It's not an obligation, it's not a necessity. We don't have to. We can stay home. I've got too much work to do. I finish it by tomorrow. That's right, we can use all of them in the positive form. I must finish it by tomorrow. I have to finish it by tomorrow. I've got to finish it by tomorrow. He eats sweets and chocolates. He ate more vegetables. That's correct. He mustn't eat sweets and chocolates. That's something he is not allowed to do. Again, it could be an obligation coming from the speaker, or just because it's something that he doesn't want to, but he has to, so there is a need to it. And let's hear the rest of the sentence. But the doctor said he take medicine if he doesn't want to. That's right. He doesn't have to. He has no obligation to take medicine. For this one, we have to make a question. Where did you have to go? Where did you have to go? It said went, so we say did have to go. Only that auxiliary verb change its form. Do, did, or does. We make reservations. We sat wherever we liked. That's right. We didn't have to make reservations. We do not say mustn't because there is no prohibition here. It's about having a choice. So there is no obligation. And we know that we have to use didn't. We have to use it in the past tense because we have sat. Sat is the past tense of sit. So that's why we say we didn't. We didn't have to make reservations. We sat wherever we liked. Well done, everyone. That was today's lesson. Now you must be able to talk about obligations and prohibition, choices and responsibilities, with have to and don't have to, and modals of obligation, must and mustn't, should and shouldn't, and can and can't, which we've also learned in this video. Of course, there are other modals to learn, so make sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos to come. You can also find us on other platforms as we share new content all the time. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you later.